DNS Server Configuration on Windows Server 2025. Module Overview. This module provides a practical, step-by-step guide to installing and configuring the DNS server role on Windows Server 2025 using only the graphical user interface. All tasks will be performed using Server Manager and DNS Manager, with no PowerShell commands required. This approach is ideal for administrators who prefer visual interfaces or are new to Windows Server administration. Learning objectives. By the end of this module you should be able to install the DNS server role using Server Manager. Configure DNS server listening interfaces. Configure forwarders for external resolution. Create a primary forward lookup zone. Create a primary reverse lookup zone. Add a name, MX, and PTR records. Configure zone transfers. Test and verify DNS resolution. Prerequisites. Before you begin, ensure your environment meets these requirements. Windows Server 2025 is installed and running. The server has a static IP address configured. You are logged in with an account that has administrative privileges. The server is connected to the network. Getting started with DNS Manager. The first step after logging into your Windows Server 2025 is to launch Server Manager. You can do this by clicking the Start button and selecting Server Manager from the Start menu, or by clicking the Server Manager icon on the taskbar if it is pinned there. Server Manager serves as your central console for managing server roles and features. Once Server Manager is open, look in the top right corner for the Manage menu. Click on Manage and then select Add Roles and Features from the drop-down menu. This action launches the Add Roles and Features wizard, which will guide you through the installation process. The wizard begins with a Before You Begin page that provides general information. Click Next to proceed. On the Installation Type page, you will be presented with two options. Select role-based or feature-based installation, as this is the standard method for installing server roles. Click Next to continue. The server selection page comes next. Here you will select the server on which you want to install the DNS role. If you are working with a single server, it should already be highlighted in the server pool list. Ensure the correct server is selected and click Next. Now you have reached the server roles page, which is the most important screen in this wizard. Scroll down through the list of available roles until you find DNS server. Check the box next to it. A pop-up window will appear titled Add Features that are required for DNS server. This window lists the additional features that the DNS server role depends on. Click Add Features to confirm and close the pop-up. With the DNS server box checked, click Next to proceed. The Features page appears next. For a basic DNS installation, you do not need to select any additional features. The required features have already been included with the DNS server role. Click Next. You will then see a DNS server page that provides an overview of what the DNS server role does, including information about its capabilities and requirements. Read through this information if you are unfamiliar with DNS, then click Next. The Confirm Installation Selections page is your final opportunity to review what will be installed. Ensure that DNS server appears in the list of roles to be installed. When you are satisfied with your selections, click Install. The installation process begins and may take a few minutes to complete. A progress bar appears showing the status of the installation. When the process finishes, you will see a message indicating that the installation succeeded. Click Close to exit the wizard. To verify that the DNS server role is now available, click the Start button and type DNS into the search box. Select DNS from the search results. The DNS Manager console should open, displaying your server name in the left pane under the DNS node. This confirms that the installation was successful. Configuring DNS server properties. With DNS Manager open, you can now perform initial configuration tasks. The first thing you may want to do is ensure you are connected to the correct DNS server. Right-click DNS in the left pane and select Connect to DNS Server. In the dialog box that appears, select this computer if you are working on the local server. Alternatively, select the following computer and enter the server name if you are managing a remote server. Click OK. Now that you are connected, right-click your server name in the left pane and select Properties from the context menu. This opens the DNS Server Properties dialog box, which contains multiple tabs for configuring various aspects of the DNS server. The Interfaces tab is where you control which IP addresses the DNS server listens on for incoming queries. By default, the option Listen on all IP addresses is selected. This is appropriate for most environments, but if you have multiple network interfaces and want to restrict DNS to a specific one, you can select only the following IP addresses. When you choose this option, the box below becomes active, allowing you to select the IP addresses you want the server to listen on. If the IP address you need is not listed, you can click the Add button and enter it manually. Once you have made your selection, click Apply to save the settings. Next, click the Forwarders tab. Forwarders are external DNS servers that your server will query when it cannot resolve a name itself. This is commonly used to direct queries to your ISP's DNS servers or to public DNS servers like Google's 8.8.8.8. To configure forwarders, click the Edit button. In the Edit Forwarders dialog box, enter the IP address of the external DNS server you want to use, then click Add. You can add multiple forwarders for redundancy, and they will be queried in the order they appear in the list. When you are finished adding forwarders, click OK to close the Edit Forwarders dialog box. Click Apply to save the forwarder settings. If you prefer not to use forwarders, you can leave this tab blank, and your DNS server will use route hints instead. The Advanced tab contains additional settings that you may want to review. Here you will find options such as Disable Recursion, which prevents the server from performing recursive queries on behalf of clients. This is typically left unchecked in most environments. You will also see options related to DNSSEC validation and name checking. For a standard installation, the default settings are sufficient. When you have finished reviewing the advanced settings, click OK to close the DNS Server Properties dialog box. Creating a forward lookup zone. With the DNS server configured, the next step is to create a forward lookup zone. A forward lookup zone is the foundation of name resolution on your network, as it contains the records that map host names to IP addresses. In DNS Manager, expand your server name in the left pane to reveal the Forward Lookup Zones folder. Right-click Forward Lookup Zones and select New Zone from the context menu. This launches the New Zone wizard, which will assist you in creating the zone. The zone type page appears first. Select Primary Zone, as this is the most common type for a standalone DNS server. If your server is not part of Active Directory, ensure that the box labeled Store the Zone in Active Directory is unchecked. Click Next. On the zone name page, you will enter the name of your domain. This should match the DNS domain name you use on your network. For example, if your network uses company.local, enter that as the zone name. The zone name must be a valid DNS domain name. Click Next. The zone file page appears next. Here you can choose whether to create a new zone file or use an existing one. Accept the default option, create a new file with this file name. The wizard automatically suggests a file name based on your zone name, with a .dns extension. Click Next. The dynamic update page follows. Dynamic updates allow DNS clients to automatically update their records in the DNS zone. For a secure environment, it is recommended to select Do Not Allow Dynamic Updates. If your server is integrated with Active Directory, you may choose Allow Only Secure Dynamic Updates. For legacy environments, you can select Allow both non-secure and secure dynamic updates. Make your selection based on your environment's requirements and click Next. The Completing the New Zone wizard page gives you a summary of your selections. Review the information to ensure everything is correct, then click Finish. The new forward lookup zone now appears under Forward Lookup Zones in DNS Manager, ready for you to add records. Creating a reverse lookup zone. While a forward lookup zone maps names to IP addresses, a reverse lookup zone performs the opposite function by mapping IP addresses to host names. This is useful for diagnostics, email server verification, and logging purposes. To create a reverse lookup zone, expand your server name in DNS Manager and right-click Reverse Lookup Zones. Select New Zone from the context menu to launch the New Zone wizard. On the Zone Type page, select Primary Zone and ensure Store the Zone in Active Directory is unchecked. Click Next. The Reverse Lookup Zone name page appears. Here you will enter the network ID of your subnet. For example, if your network uses the 192.168.1.0/24 subnet, enter 192.168.1. The wizard automatically converts this into the corresponding reverse lookup zone name, such as 1.168.192.in-address.arpa. Click Next. The zone file page appears. Accept the default option to create a new file, and click Next. On the Dynamic Update page, select Do Not Allow Dynamic Updates unless you have a specific need for clients to update reverse records automatically. Click Next. Review your selections on the Completing the New Zone wizard page and click Finish. The new reverse lookup zone appears under Reverse Lookup Zones in DNS Manager. Adding DNS resource records. With your zones created, you can now add resource records. The most common record type is the A record, which maps a host name to an IPv4 address. To add in a record, expand Forward Lookup Zones in DNS Manager. Right-click your forward lookup zone, such as company.local, and select New Host, A or AAAA, from the context menu. The New Host dialog box appears. In the name field, enter the host name you want to create. For example, if you are adding a record for a server named Server 1, enter Server 1. In the IP address field, enter the corresponding IPv4 address, such as 192.168.1.10. If you have already created a reverse lookup zone, you can check the box labeled Create Associated Pointer, PTR, record. This automatically adds a PTR record in the reverse lookup zone, saving you a separate step. Click Add Host. A confirmation message appears indicating that the record was successfully created. Click OK to close the confirmation, and then click Done to close the New Host dialog box. To verify that the record was created, look in the right pane of DNS Manager under your forward lookup zone. You should see the new A record with the host name and IP address displayed. A name record, or alias record, allows you to create an alternate name for an existing host. For example, you might want ftp.company.local to point to server1.company.local. To create a name record, right-click your forward lookup zone and select New Alias, Name. In the New Resource Record dialog box, enter the alias name in the alias name field. In the Fully Qualified Domain Name, FQDN, for target host field, enter the FQDN of the target host. You can also click Browse to locate the target host. Click OK to create the record. An MX record, or mail exchange record, specifies the mail server responsible for receiving email for the domain. To add an MX record, right-click your forward lookup zone and select New Mail Exchanger, MX. In the New Resource Record dialog box, leave the host or child domain field blank if the mail server handles mail for the entire domain. Alternatively, enter a subdomain if the mail server handles mail for a specific subdomain. In the Fully Qualified Domain Name, FQDN, of mail server field, enter the FQDN of your mail server, such as mail.company.local. In the mail server priority field, enter a number. Lower numbers indicate higher priority, so the primary mail server typically receives a lower number, such as 10. Click OK to create the record. PTR records are added to reverse lookup zones. To add a PTR record, expand reverse lookup zones in DNS Manager. Right-click your reverse lookup zone, such as 1.168.192.in-address.arpa, and select New Pointer, PTR. In the New Resource Record dialog box, enter the IP address of the host in the Host IP address field. In the host name field, enter the FQDN of the host, such as server1.company.local. Click OK to create the record. You can verify that the PTR record was created by expanding your reverse lookup zone and viewing the records in the right pane. Configuring zone transfers. Zone transfers are an important feature for environments with multiple DNS servers. They allow secondary DNS servers to obtain a copy of the zone data, providing redundancy and load distribution. To configure zone transfers, right-click your forward lookup zone, such as company.local, and select Properties from the context menu. In the Zone Properties dialog box, click the Zone Transfers tab. Check the box labeled Allow Zone Transfers. You will then be presented with three options. To any server allows any DNS server to request a zone transfer. This option is convenient but not recommended for production environments due to security concerns. Only to servers listed on the Name Servers tab restricts transfers to the servers that are listed as authoritative for the zone. Only to the following servers allows you to specify specific IP addresses manually. This option provides the most control and is recommended for most environments. If you choose the third option, click the Add button and enter the IP address of the secondary DNS server. Repeat this process for each secondary server you want to allow. You can also specify additional name servers by clicking the Name Servers tab. Here you can add the FQDN and IP address of any secondary DNS servers. Click Apply to save your settings, then click OK to close the Properties dialog box. Testing and verifying DNS resolution. After completing your configuration, it is important to test that your DNS server is resolving names correctly. Open a command prompt by clicking Start, typing CMD, and pressing Enter. The nslookup command is the standard tool for testing DNS resolution. To test forward lookup, type the following command and press Enter. nslookup server1.company.local. The response should display the IP address you configured for that host. If the record was created correctly, you will see the host name and the corresponding IP address in the output. To test reverse lookup, type the following command and press Enter. nslookup 192.168.1.10. The response should display the host name associated with that IP address. If the PTR record was created correctly, you will see the IP address and the corresponding host name in the output. You can also use the ping command to verify resolution. Type the following command and press Enter. Ping server1.company.local. The ping command will attempt to resolve the host name to an IP address and then send ICMP packets. Even if the ping fails due to network connectivity, the resolution portion of the command will confirm that DNS is working. If you are not seeing updated records, you may need to flush the local DNS cache. This is especially useful when testing changes. Open a command prompt as administrator by right-clicking Command Prompt and selecting Run as administrator. Type the following command and press Enter. IP protocol configuration /flushdns. This command clears the local DNS cache and forces new lookups. After flushing the cache, retest your DNS resolution using nslookup or ping. Additional GUI configuration options. DNS Manager provides several additional configuration options that can be useful for monitoring and troubleshooting. To enable DNS debug logging, right-click your server name in DNS Manager and select Properties. Click the Debug Logging tab. Check the box labeled Log Packets for debugging. You can then select which types of packets to log, such as UDP packets, TCP packets, incoming packets, and outgoing packets. By default, the log file is stored in system root /system32/DNS/DNS.log. You can change the file path if needed. Click Apply and then OK to save your settings. Debug logging can be useful for troubleshooting, but it should be disabled when not in use to avoid filling up disk space. You can also adjust DNS cache settings. Right-click your server name, select Properties, and click the Advanced tab. Under the Cache section, you can adjust the time to live settings if you need to change how long records are cached. This is typically left at default values in most environments. For load balancing and performance optimization, you can enable round-robin and netmask ordering. Round-robin rotates IP address responses for a host name that has multiple A records, distributing traffic across multiple servers. Netmask ordering returns IP addresses that are closest to the client's subnet, improving network efficiency. To enable these features, right-click your server name, select Properties, and click the Advanced tab. Check the box for Enable Round-Robin and the box for Enable Netmask Ordering. Click Apply and OK. Troubleshooting common GUI issues. If DNS Manager does not show your server, ensure that the DNS server role is installed and that you are connected to the correct server. Right-click DNS in the left pane and select Connect to DNS Server. Verify that you selected the correct server name. If you are unable to create a primary zone, confirm that you have administrative privileges and that the zone name is valid and does not already exist. Also check that the forward lookup zones folder is not read-only. If records do not appear after creation, right-click the zone and select Refresh from the context menu. Ensure that you are looking in the correct zone and verify that the record was created by checking the DNS logs. If clients cannot resolve names, verify that clients are using the correct DNS server IP address. Check that the DNS server service is running by opening services, services.msc, and ensuring that the DNS server service status is set to running. Key practical points to remember. Install the DNS server role through Server Manager by navigating to Add Roles and Features and selecting DNS Server. Configure listening interfaces in DNS Server Properties under the Interfaces tab to control which IP addresses the server listens on. Configure forwarders in DNS Server Properties under the Forwarders tab to enable external resolution. Create forward lookup zones by right-clicking Forward Lookup Zones in DNS Manager and selecting New Zone. Create reverse lookup zones by right-clicking Reverse Lookup Zones and selecting New Zone. Add a records by right-clicking the forward lookup zone and selecting New Host, A or AAA. Add name records by right-clicking the zone and selecting New Alias, Name. Add MX records by right-clicking the zone and selecting New Mail Exchanger, MX. Add PTR records by right-clicking the reverse lookup zone and selecting New Pointer, PTR. Configure zone transfers in the Zone Properties under the Zone Transfers tab to allow secondary servers to obtain zone copies. Test DNS resolution using ANS lookup from a command prompt. Refresh DNS Manager views by right-clicking and selecting Refresh.